Well, one picture has dominated the news this week of a little 3-year-old boy from Syria who was pictured lying dead on a beach after an attempt by his family to flee Syria and the horrors that have been going on there. His brother and his mother died also in the attempt to escape the Syrian civil war, the Syrian proxy war by the United States and European countries. The picture, understandably, created and generated a wave of emotional response, and that's understandable. It's amazing how many words can be spoken, how many things can be seen in a single, simple photograph. But for those who have turned their attention to this as a result of the photograph, they should remember that dead little boys and children and dead civilians are the norm in the Middle East. They have died in their extraordinary numbers since the invasion of Iraq and the proxy war against Syria, the bombing of civilians to protect them from violence in Libya, and the creation by the West of this ISIS bunch of lunatics who have created such devastation in the countries from which so many people now seek to flee into Europe. The picture of one little boy should not let us lose that fact of how many lost little boys and girls there have been in this systematic devastation of a whole region of people. And you know, I'm sick and tired of the fricking bullshit. Do you know, we have a Prime Minister in this country, David Cameron, who actually said this week that the answer to the enormous and gathering numbers of people heading into Europe from Syria and other parts of the Middle East, the answer is to bring peace and stability to Syria. It's difficult to comprehend the scale of sheer mendacious hypocrisy that is necessary for that man to summon those words. But then I guess when you're a professional liar, by definition of your job, then it's easier for him than for most other people. Look at the definitions for psychopath, and you'll see the personality makeup of world leaders, including Cameron. Is that a coincidence? You're having a laugh. Psychopaths are needed in power because those behind those in power require psychopathic behavior to advance the hidden agenda. And that agenda I'm going to address in the videocast today. Cameron and Obama, I say Cameron and Obama, I could say Blair and Bush, they apparently are in different parties, but it doesn't matter because the same hidden hand is behind them all. This is why the agenda never changes. This party replaces that party, agenda doesn't change. Obama replaces Bush. I'm about change, nothing changes. The agenda goes on. And what has happened, not just involving Cameron and Obama, but other countries too, more in the background, is that they have systematically, coldly, calculatedly armed, funded and trained rebels to remove Gaddafi in Libya and set that country afire with violence, upheaval. And they have then done the same in their ongoing quest to remove Assad in Syria. And we now have America bombing Syria. We have Turkey bombing Syria. And we have a man who said this week that the answer to the migrant crisis is bringing peace and stability to Syria, who has had one go at getting the British Parliament to support British bombing of Syria, and he's waiting now to have another go as soon as he can. And saying even that if a leader of the Labour opposition party came to win their leadership election, currently going on, and was against bombing in Syria, he might even do it anyway. The words are the bullshit. The words are the cover story. The actions are the agenda they've been following year after year after year. I've been waiting for this migrant crisis to happen because it is all part of the agenda that I've been uncovering and communicating for more than 20 years. In fact, 25 years now. And the reason for it, there are many reasons for it. I'll give you two reasons for it. What this hidden hand wants is chaos. Because chaos and upheaval is the easiest state in the world to manipulate. Because once you have chaos, you have not just the opportunity to offer the solution to the chaos, i.e. advancing your agenda with the chaos as the excuse, but because of the chaos, you've got vast numbers of people sickened by the chaos, in fear of the chaos, who are demanding that you offer a solution to the chaos. And so when you say, oh, we want to do this, more centralization of power, more surveillance, more police state, then you say, well, we don't really want that, but we've got to sort this chaos out. So yeah, all right, go do it. Or at least the opposition to it is massively diluted. So this wave of migrants from the Middle East and Africa who are heading into Europe is designed to create chaos, and you see nothing yet if their agenda is allowed to unfold. Because what they want is a tidal wave, never mind a wave, a tidal wave of people heading into Europe, creating economic chaos and, of course, creating conflict between migrants and the home population. And in this way, as usual, you have one set of victims of this hidden hand played off against another set of victims of this hidden hand. So they're fighting and in conflict with each other, and the hidden hand's going, oh, thank you very much, that's good, yeah, do, oh, that's nice, yeah, oh yeah, more, yeah. That's what we're seeing. And there's another reason, like I say, there are many. There has been a war on the nation state for decades and decades and decades and decades. The European Union is a war on the nation state. So are these other unions that are being brought into place outside of public attention to be their versions of the European Union all around the world. And one of the great sources of resistance to the absorption of the nation state into these super fascist communist groupings with centralized bureaucratic dictatorships. Oh, did I mention the European Union? One of the great sources of resistance to that is a sense of national identity. I'm going to talk today about a piece of land occupied, at least in 2013, be less now, by 22 million people. A piece of land that is little bigger than North Dakota. And I'm talking, of course, about Syria. Now, in that country of less than 22 million people now, and little bigger than the size of North Dakota, I'd like to make a list. We have America bombing, France bombing, Turkey bombing, Israel bombing, Kurds attacking, US backed, armed and trained rebels bombing and attacking. We have ISIS bombing and attacking. We have Iran having a military presence there. And now we have Russia starting to bomb that land this week. Very much in the not too distant background is China. And of course we have the psychopath that is David Cameron, absolutely desperate to get the British Air Force involved also in bombing this land. If anyone ever needed confirmation, and of course we don't, that we live in a lunatic asylum, then the events of Syria are the confirmation. Does anyone really think that all this is going on? All these countries involved, all this bombing, all this death, destruction, suffering, and refugee creation is happening because the West morally feels that President Assad is a tyrant oppressing his people, and therefore the opposition to him in the country must be supported. Does anyone really believe that? The idea that the United States and Britain alone have any interest whatsoever in the oppression of people, when the British Empire and the American Empire, that is but not named, have spent centuries oppressing people all over the world for their own economic benefit and accumulation of power. They could not give a damn about what is happening in Syria in terms of oppression of the people or whatever else they claim. We have a situation where one of the greatest oppressors of humanity on the planet, Saudi Arabia, which executes someone on average about every 2 days at the moment, is part of the coalition to stop oppression in Syria. We have ISIS rightly vilified and condemned for the horrors of beheading as a tool of trauma and control and terror. And yet, we have Saudi Arabia beheading with not a murmur from the same moral West. They are bombing mercilessly civilians in Yemen without a murmur from the moral West that arms them and allows them to do it. So it's pretty bloody clear that the cover story of "We must help the people of Syria" is a load of fricking bollocks. So there's another reason, which I'm going to come to in this video cast, and there are many levels to it. I am sick beyond words at the moral hypocrisy of the Obamas and the Camerons and the Blairs and the Bushes and all these others, the Hollands and the Sarkozys, war criminals, the lot of them, psychopaths, who talk about how they must stand for freedom and justice while bombing the crap out of country after country and leaving mayhem and violence behind them. We have a moral United States that has held a British citizen, Shaka Amar, in Guantanamo Bay for 13 years without charge or trial, an innocent man taken from his family and his children, a man denied seeing his children grow up, has a child he's not even seen because he was born after he was taken into captivity by these psychopaths. We have children, his children, who've been denied a father in their childhood by a nation, a government representing a nation more like it, and even more so, a hidden hand behind governments, whichever the complexion, that are driving this horrific treatment of people. We have an American administration, under whatever colour, that can do that to a human being and still claim the moral high ground. So we have the next stage this week of the Syrian crisis, and that is the introduction of Russia as a bomber. Must have more bombs. Cameron must come in and have more bombs, because bombs sort everything, don't they? And it's a very, very dangerous situation on a much bigger level, as I'll come to in this video cast. Because on this piece of land called Syria, we now have lining up Russia with China in the background, but not far in the background, like I say, and Iran too, against the American, British, French-led West, with Israel, the elephant in the living room, behind them. And obviously, President Putin has gone in there to protect the Assad government. Not just to do that, but to protect Russian military and naval interests in Syria from the gathering chaos, upheaval, and takeover. And when the first strikes, anyway, were against what people were not calling ISIS, but opponents of the Assad government, well, that all makes sense, because Russia well know, and it's becoming more and more accepted, the initial trigger that brought about this whole catastrophe was through American trained, armed and funded rebels, many of which had just been shipped over from doing the same in Libya. And so what we have now, in effect, is a emerging proxy war on that land between definitely Russia, supported by China and Iran, who are attacking American backed rebels. And I love them. They call them moderates. There is no moderation in what any of them are doing.